I came home after half a month away on business. My husband Derek was in bed, tangled up in passionate sex with his young, flashy secretary Brielle. After I caught them red-handed, the two of them sneered at me with arrogant contempt. Victoria, if you behave, you can still be Sterling in name only. Otherwise, you're nothing. Tears of grievance rolled down my cheeks and I rushed out the door. The instant I slammed the bedroom door shut, every trace of heartbreak vanished. In its place came a cruel, cold smile. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening from. Victoria, either pretend nothing happened and get lost, or go take a shower and the three of us can play together. Derek hugged Brielle and, looking at Dusty, travel-weary me, said shamelessly, Sterling, you're so bad, am I not enough for you all by myself? Brielle nestled in Derek's arms and pouted, then shot me a disdainful glance. Sterling, the boss hasn't touched you in a whole year, haven't you sensed the crisis? I really don't get how someone so stupid managed to become Sterling or how you're running Sterling now. Derek, you. My whole body shook with rage. Grief swallowed me, tears poured like rain. For 20 years I've given everything to Sterling, RD, sales, management, every job, every hardship, all on my shoulders. I built Sterling into Cloud's flagship company with my own blood and sweat. And you, all you ever had to do was lie around at home doing nothing yet still enjoy luxury and riches. Why? Why are you doing this to me? Victoria, back in college I didn't even want you. You chased me shamelessly, swearing you'd do anything for me. Derek spoke lazily, unbothered. You said you'd toil for me your whole life, that every dollar you earned was for me to spend, that as long as I married you I could do whatever I wanted. I'm merely honoring our little agreement. But that agreement didn't include betraying me. I shrieked through my sobs. I gave you my true heart and you paid me back with infidelity. Derek, have you no conscience? And you? I pointed at Brielle, fury spitting from my lips. You were a broke college kid who couldn't even afford food. I sponsored you out of kindness, paid your tuition, and after graduation I brought you into Sterling. This is how you repay me. Vice President Sterling, haven't I treated you well enough? Brielle's voice dripped fake sweetness. You're always buried in work, no time to keep the boss company. I fill that gap, ease his loneliness, shouldn't you thank me for lifting that burden? You have no idea how many flies used to swarm around him. Now I'm the only woman at his side. You ought to feel lucky and grateful, not hurl insults. My heart aches at your cruelty. You. Words failed me, rage stole my breath. Derek lost patience and frowned. Enough, Victoria. Pretend this never happened and keep earning money for me like a good girl, and I won't divorce you. You'll still be Sterling on paper and Vice President Sterling in the company, basking in everyone's envy and respect. Otherwise, once I divorce you and boot you out, you'll be nothing. After all, every share of Sterling is in my name, you know that. I fell silent, eyes downcast. Get lost, now. Derek's face twisted in disgust. A trophy wife gone stale like you couldn't turn me on if you bent over. Stop nauseating me. Go sleep at a hotel, then tomorrow escort me to Brielle's wedding and play the perfect Sterling. Maybe, if I'm in a good mood, I'll toss you a mercy fuck someday. Sterling, don't say that. Brielle cooed, I'm going to drain you dry, not a drop left. You little slut. Derek teased. Tomorrow you marry that personal trainer. With a body like his, surely Holden can satisfy you. Holden's just pumped up eye candy, nowhere near you. Brielle gazed at him in worship. If I didn't need him as a cover to stop gossip, I'd never walk down the aisle with him. Derek swelled with pride. Late. Slip into your wedding gown and serve Big Brother properly. Big Brother will send you straight to paradise. Then Holden turned to me, face cold. Victoria, aren't you gone yet? Wah. I fled in tears. Slam. The moment the door shut, my tears stopped. Every trace of sorrow vanished from my face, replacing it, a cruel, icy smile. Derek, Brielle, in my last life you used me as your puppet until, broken and despairing, I threw myself into the river. The day I reincarnated 1 year ago, I vowed, every soul who wronged me would pay a brutal price. This entire year I bided my time, laying my trap, waiting for the perfect moment of revenge. And now, that moment is almost here. Wedding surveillance. I stepped out of the clifftop mansion, slid into my car, and opened a surveillance app on my phone. On screen, Brielle and her ornate wedding gown writhed beneath Derek, both spewing filth. I tapped a few angles to savor their performance, then felt sick. I killed the feed and dialed a contact labeled cybersecurity. President Sterling, good evening. Xavier answered respectfully. Is the video recording? I asked calmly. The second you walked into that room, we were rolling. Good. Edit the highlights and cue them to play at Brielle's wedding tomorrow. Rest assured, President Sterling. Xavier promised. I've already hacked Grand's entire AV system. One command from you and the banquet hall becomes an X-rated theater. Excellent. When this is done, you'll receive a fat bonus, and the cybersecurity manager seat will be yours. Thank you for your trust. I hung up and drove away. Check into a hotel? Please. Months ago I bought myself a larger, newer clifftop estate in Cloud's brand new luxury enclave, far grander and more comfortable than the aging love nest those two dogs occupy. I slept like royalty, then put on a woeful, resigned face to pick Derek up. My docility delighted him. After a night of exertion, Holden lolled in the passenger seat, arrogant and lazy. Victoria, I knew you couldn't leave me. Keep behaving and I might squeeze out a little time for you. And I'll talk to Connor, get him to treat his own mother better. Connor? That ungrateful pup? Hatred flared hotter. They say even tigers don't eat their cubs, but when I look at my own son, all I feel is loathing. Vanity, arrogance, troublemaking, none of that matters. What matters is that the boy sees no trace of the mother who slaved to give him a gilded life. His idol is the idol, vice-ridden Derek. No matter how busy I was, I carved out time to guide him, only to be repaid with curses and, sometimes, raised fists. In my last life, after Derek abandoned me, I thought my flesh and blood might offer comfort. Instead, Connor kicked me away and snarled, "Useless old hag, get lost." That moment, my heart turned to ash. "Thank you," I answered, voice thin and glacial. Derek, deaf to my tone, closed his eyes and dozed until we reached Grand. I woke him, straightened his jacket like the perfect wife, and walked arm in arm into the wedding hall where Brielle would marry her personal trainer groom, Jax. Guests recognized us and rushed over, buzzing. So those rumors about Derek and Brielle were just gossip. Exactly, people called her his mistress, yet here she is marrying someone else. Sterling came in person and gave a $5,000 gift, proves the rumors were pure jealousy. Those tales were started by small-minded colleagues who can't stand that Brielle's already executive assistant to the Sterling CEO at her age. Amid the murmurs, I tucked Derek's arm tighter against mine and smiled with poised grace. Brielle is one of Sterling's brightest prospects. I sponsored her through college, brought her into the company, and placed her in a key role because I saw her exceptional talent, outstanding ability, and sterling character. I lavished praise on Brielle, adding extra cheer to the day's wedding festivities. Brielle's and Jax's relatives beamed with pride, ushering Derek and me to the front row VIP seats and even inviting Derek to officiate and give a speech. That was perfect. Derek was pleased. Holden leaned to my ear and whispered, "Tonight Brielle obviously can't keep me company. I might let you take her place." Thrilled? "Thank you, honey." My excited tone made Derek puff with satisfaction. The ceremony unfolded without a hitch. When the bride entered, Brielle glided down the aisle, eyes full of tenderness, wearing the very wedding gown she'd had on last night. Jax, every muscle sculpted, watched her, exhilarated. Holden was an ordinary personal trainer who loved hitting on clients at the luxury fitness studio. Until now, Holden only snared mediocre trophies. Today Holden landed a prize like Brielle, and at the altar, too, sparking envy throughout the guest rows. This was his wedding day, the pinnacle of his life. Jax took Brielle's hand and they stepped onto the platform. The ritual continued. Tea, vows, rings. Soon came the officiant's address. Derek strode up to the microphone, chest out, and began to read. "Dear guests, beloved friends, good afternoon. It's both an honor and a joy to stand here as officiant and witness Brielle and Jax exchange vows. As her supervisor for many years, I've watched Brielle evolve from a green rookie into the powerhouse you see today." His voice rose with feeling. My own expression cooled. I pulled out my phone and texted Xavier 4 words, "Showtime starts now." "Got it." Xavier pinged back instantly. A heartbeat later, the giant screen behind the couple, still displaying Brielle and Jax's romantic engagement photos, flickered. Without warning, an explicit video rolled. Brielle, in the same dress she wore at that moment, serviced Derek in positions too obscene to describe, shrieking lustfully. "Sterling, harder. Sterling, faster. I want your baby the night before my wedding. I'll make Jax the biggest cuckold. More. In seconds the shot switched twice, wide overhead, then awed close-up of both faces. Every guest could see the woman was Brielle. And the man working over her was Derek, the very officiant speaking at the podium. A sonic boom of shock tore through the ballroom. Divorce hotel and event staff gaped, frantically clicking laptops to kill the feed. But Xavier owned every audiovisual circuit in the Grand. Nothing they did could silence the writhing images or the howls from the speakers. Finally someone yanked the power cables, blacking out screen and sound. By then the hall was pandemonium. Jax, publicly cuckolded on his wedding day, lost his mind. Slut. Holden slugged Brielle, sending her sprawling. I'll kill you. Next Holden tackled the stunned Derek, fists hammering like hail. I clearly saw blood spurt from Derek's nose and mouth, a tooth flying. Pure elation surged through me. Only regret, I couldn't step up and stomp Derek's face myself. I had bigger moves to make. Why? I wailed, hands over my face, tears sliding between my fingers, heartbreak itself. Look, Sterling's crying her eyes out. I caught the whispers. Of course she is. Imagine finding out about your husband and his secretary in front of hundreds. Anyone would break. I thought her showing up proved Derek and Brielle were innocent. Turns out she'd been fooled too. Sterling wouldn't exist without her. Years of devotion, repaid with betrayal. Poor Victoria. Derek's scum. Brielle's worse. Didn't you hear? Victoria paid her tuition, gave her the job, she invited the wolf inside. Sympathy snowballed, curses raining on Derek and Brielle. When the outrage peaked, I peeked through my fingers at Derek, limping, dodging Jax's punches, and at Brielle, hair torn out by Jax's sisters. I sobbed loudly and hurried from the ballroom. Under a canopy of pitying stares, I climbed into my car. Once clear of the Grand, I rang Cloud's top divorce shark. Sebastian, Derek's infidelity ends our marriage. File the divorce petition, today. Pressure from my son right after I left Sebastian's office. Having handed him full control of the case, Derek called. I answered. His shriek burst through. Victoria. Where the hell are you? Get to the hospital and take care of me, now. Oh? What about your little girlfriend? I sipped coffee in the firm's lounge, unhurried. I imagine she's free today, seeing how her groom walked out. She can play nurse, maybe slip into an after-party dress and ride you to heaven again, no? Stop the sarcasm, Holden roared. I don't care where you are. 10 minutes, bedside, or I'll divorce you and you'll stop being Sterling. Fine by me. I kept my voice flat. I stopped wanting that title ages ago. You, Derek froze, disbelieving. What did you say? I said. I let the pause linger. Derek, every dime you owe me, payback time, with interest. Victoria. You, talk to my attorney. I hung up and looked at Sebastian across the table. Counselor, Holden's all yours. You've got it, Sterling, Sebastian said, eyes gleaming. You'll see what a tip-top legal team can do. Derek, face bandaged, leg in a cast, waited in vain for me. His visitor was Sebastian, armed with the divorce petition. That woman dares divorce me? Derek held. Liar. Fake. She'd never leave, being Sterling is her dream, her crown. Sterling. Sebastian smiled. This petition, trash. Derek snatched the papers, ripping them to confetti, then dialed my number. I'd already blocked him. So Holden rang Sterling's other VP, Martin. This time someone answered. Martin, where are you? Derek barked. Martin stood in my office, glancing at me for permission. I nodded. Coolly Holden said, I'm briefing Sterling. What? Derek shrieked. You report to me, not Victoria. Who gave her authority? Hang up, I said softly. Martin obeyed, disconnecting, and went on with his report. I listened, smiling. Why did I wait a full year after my rebirth before striking? Because over those 12 months I quietly, legally transferred the majority of Sterling's equity stake in to my name. I'd also won over most of the senior management, including Martin, and gathered evidence powerful enough to claim every last share. On every single night Derek and Brielle tangled in breathless passion, I was quietly preparing, quietly stockpiling strength, so I could crush them now with a vengeance that would leave them bleeding. Derek called Martin again. Martin declined the call and blocked the number. Derek dialed other senior executives. Most of them, acting on my instructions, simply ignored him. Only a handful, Derek's relatives or drinking buddies, answered, then stormed into my office spoiling for a fight. His cousin Trevor led the charge, finger stabbing the air an inch from my nose. Victoria, CEO Sterling orders you to the hospital, now. Refuse, and Holden will strip you of your VP title. Think hard, every share in this company belongs to him. Without Derek, you're smack. I swung my palm across his cheek. The red imprint of 5 fingers bloomed instantly. You bloated leeches, high titles, zero output. If the real workers didn't carry you, you'd be sipping Northwest Wind for breakfast. And you imagine you can unseat me? Security, escort these parasites out. I didn't have to lift another finger. Ambitious junior staff, eager to impress, swarmed in and herded the vampires through the lobby and onto the street. Their exile didn't dent a single server or ledger line. I promoted a wave of sharp, loyal operators. Sterling's divisions roared on, revenues climbing. Outside, Derek's affair with his secretary blazed across every screen. The clip of him in bed, arm curled around Brielle while Holden mocked me, looped endlessly. The tale of how I had built Sterling from scratch only to be dumped spread everywhere. Netizens tore Derek apart and offered me rivers of pity. Riding that wave, Sebastian strode into court armed with the evidence I had spent a year gathering and filed for divorce. Derek was to walk away with nothing. Sebastian was merciless. At the first hearing we held every advantage. Derek's counsel buckled, securing him only a handful of houses, pocket change beside my fortune. Between hearings Derek limped to headquarters, screaming for an audience. Security tossed him out like trash every time. Holden never got past the revolving door. On the eve of the second hearing Holden flew Connor home from boarding school to pressure me. The guards daren't bar my own son. Connor marched into my office, finger jabbing just as Trevor's had. You file one more paper and I disown you. The verdict Victoria. Connor sprayed the name, reeking of nicotine. Have you forgotten your place? His eyes slanted, contempt replacing whatever filial warmth might once have flickered. You sit in an office for a few hours and cash the life dad hands you. Why isn't that enough? So Holden slept with his secretary, big deal. Every guy slips. Why blow up a marriage over it? Holden barked, call off your gutter lawyer, crawl back home, and play wife, otherwise I petition for custody with dad. I'll never see you again, and I sure as hell won't fund your retirement. I almost laughed. A wolf pup I'd never managed to tame, best Holden vanish forever. Still, I donned a stricken mask. Connor, mommy can't lose you. Tomorrow in court, tell the judge you choose me, I'll shower you with love, top tutors, IV feeds, anything. Connor's face blanched. Victoria, are you insane? I don't want any of that. What do you want, then? Money. Only money. Money, I don't have. I shook my head, sighing. Son, dad controls every account, my salary's a joke. And Sterling? Glitter and debt. We owe bank stacks. But if we tighten our belts and grind, maybe in 10 years, a glance at the books would have exposed the lie. Cash reserves in the tens of millions, assets pushing $1 billion, but Connor had never read a balance sheet in his life. Holden fled as if I carried plague. Next morning, in court, Holden demanded custody with Derek. The judge obliged. Propert. Why split unchanged? Houses for them, Sterling and the bulk for me. Marriage dissolved. My support duty, $1,500 a month until Holden turned 18, 10 months away. I mailed a single lump sum of 15 grand and severed the thread. That, of course, did not mean I was finished. The agony they'd carved into 2 lifetimes deserved interest. The kidnap that wasn't at first. Connor reveled in his new allegiance, milking Derek for cash. The tap ran dry fast, Derek remarried Brielle, and the pair burned money like jet fuel. Nothing was left for Connor. Broke, unable to jet overseas or even fund a local bar crawl, Holden cornered me after work. Mom, I was wrong. Holden dropped to his knees, arms around my legs, snot smearing my stockings. Just a little cash, please, your own flesh and blood. I studied him coldly. I already paid 15 grand. Did Derek swallow it? That won't cover a tasting menu. Holden wailed. A few million, that's all. Disown dad, take me back, I'll care for you when you're old. No. I kicked free, the same cold kick Holden'd once given me. We're strangers. Scram. Victoria. Push me further and I die right now. Holden jabbed toward the streaming traffic. I'll throw myself under a car, your only son a smear on the asphalt. Go ahead. I spoke softly. I'll book the marble chapel, the mahogany urn, the prime cemetery plot, mommy promises. Spineless when it counted, Connor backed away. You'll regret this. Holden spat, and vanished. I learned soon enough what Holden meant by regret. Holden been kidnapped. The caller demanded 5 million or my darling son would face fatal retaliation. I wired the money, then dialed the police. A mind that small couldn't architect a decent hoax. Officers found Connor and his cronies high in Derek's vacant condo, baggies scattered, the 5 million stacked like poker chips. Fraud in the millions, possession, age 16, all felonies. Connor was looking at hard time. The court asked me whether I will write a letter of forgiveness for Connor. After all, Holden was my flesh and blood, and nearly $5 million had already been recovered. I answered with righteous clarity, scum like Connor must not be loosed on the world. The full force of the law was the only education Holden deserved. As the victim, my sole demand was the maximum sentence. I truly hoped Connor would spend the rest of his life stitching saws at a prison factory machine, never again seeing daylight. But, to my regret, because Holden was still 17, the judge gave him only 3 years. During those 3 years I seized every opportunity my memories of the future offered, steering Sterling from city leader to national powerhouse. Assets ballooned past 100 billion. And I, ever the philanthropist, gave billions more to charity, yet never slipped Connor a single dollar behind bars. When Holden was released, Holden came begging several times, but my security team never even let him reach the lobby. Cornered, Holden went looking for Derek. What Holden didn't know was that Derek was already penniless and sleeping on sidewalks. The ex becomes a beggar the very day Connor was locked up. Startup founder approached Derek hawking a can't-miss investment. The man talked rings around him, flashing charts that promised tenfold returns the moment seed money hit the account. Derek, hopeless with numbers, swallowed every word. Over Brielle's protests, Holden mortgaged every property Holden still owned and poured the cash into the scheme. Then Holden planted himself outside Sterling HQ, blocking my car. Victoria, Holden crowed. I'm about to be filthy rich. When my fortune rolls and I'll crush Sterling, buy you out when you're bankrupt, and make you kneel and lick my boots while you beg for mercy. Derek, you insult your own name. You're a brainless pig. I smiled, slid into my new Maybach while security closed the doors, and glided away. Holden never realized the entrepreneur worked for me. Under my choreography, the venture collapsed, clean, legal, total. Brielle dumped him the instant the money vanished. Within weeks Derek had burned through his last cent and was living on the street. Before Connor's release I spotted him once, caked in filth, clawing a moldy bagel from a trash can, gulping half-finished bubble tea, chewing the soggy tapioca with groans of satisfaction. From the leather seat of my S-Class I watched, smiled, and drove on. Father and son reunited with a little backstage help from me. Connor located his dad sleeping off a drunk on a bus bench. I took a table on the second-floor cafe terrace, espresso in hand, and enjoyed the family reunion. Dad? Connor stared at the ragged, reeking shell of the man Holden once worshipped as the golden king of cloud. Connor. Connor. Derek lurched up and hugged him. Son, I'm starving. Take me to dinner, lobster, sea cucumber. I haven't seen the inside of a restaurant in months. Get lost. Connor shoved him away. Who's your son, stinking bum? Beat it, I don't know you. Connor, it's me. You just called me dad. Buy me a feast, get me a sweet, I can't live like this anymore. You crazy geezer claiming to be my father? Connor booted him aside. I haven't had a full meal in days and you want lobster? Die, you useless trash. Holden kicked again and again. This is all your fault. If you hadn't nailed your secretary, I'd still be sipping champagne overseas instead of sewing sneakers for 3 years and starving now. Derek curled up, nose bleeding, pleading between kicks. Stop, please, blame Brielle, that witch seduced me. She ruined us, let's find her and make her pay. You know where she is? Connor snarled. She's working in some office building, I saw her last week. We'll corner her, squeeze her dry, or we'll expose every dirty secret she ever had. Then move. Connor yanked him up and shoved him down the street. Faster, you useless old man. Brielle's new job. I knew exactly which company Brielle had joined, because I owned it. Hiring her had been my idea, keeping her in sight was part of the script that would march the trio toward their final curtain. I reached the tower before the beggar parade and parked in my reserved spot. Brielle, flirting by the water cooler, caught sight of me and went white, files cascading around her heels. What are you doing here? I summoned the general manager and pointed. Fire that woman, immediately. President Sterling, please. After her disgrace, this job had been her last lifeline. Without it she faced a one-way bus ticket to the dirt-poor village she'd clawed her way out of. She dropped to her knees, slapping her own cheeks. President Sterling, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Didn't you say that without the dust I was nothing? I asked coolly. Tell me, who's nothing now? I am, she screamed. Without you I'm zero, please, just a position, any position, spare me. Spare you? When I jumped into the black river of my last life, did you offer me a single breath of mercy? My gaze turned to ice. Escort her out, now. Guys in gray uniforms dragged her toward the door. She twisted, shrieking, Victoria, may you rot in hell. She stumbled onto the sidewalk, and straight into Derek and Connor. Final judgment from the plate glass window of my corner office. I looked down. I couldn't hear words, but the pantomime grew vicious. Suddenly father and son exploded, fists pounding Brielle's head. She dropped, boots slamming into her ribs. 6, 7 blows, she lay still. Panic struck, they bolted. But the lobby cams had captured every frame. Police arrived, Derek and Connor were cuffed and charged with aggravated assault causing grievous bodily harm. Brielle survived, barely. The injury to her brain stem locked her in a vegetative state. Her hill country kin refused medical bills, signed discharge papers, and carted her home. Within days she was gone. 2 years later, vacationing on the Amalfi Coast, I received a concise report. Derek had died of a sudden stroke in his cell. Connor, caught attempting escape, earned himself several extra years. To celebrate, I wired another few billion to the Global Relief Fund I chair. Dead ex-husband, erased son. I remain wealthy, unburdened, delighted, and intend to stay that way for the rest of my long, sunlit life. Thank you for listening to my story. If you liked it, hit like and share with a friend. Drop your thoughts below, subscribe for more, and see you next time.